In today's show, we're going to look at habit apps and how you can set yourself up for a great 2021.
I'm going to show you a way to check out new apps and products all the time.
And I'm going to show you how you can keep track of all of your clothes and how often you actually wear them.
It's time for iOS Today.
iOS Today.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Stop handing over your personal data to ISPs who mine your activity and sell off your information. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/iOS Today. I always swipe the wrong way with my body because mirroring is very confusing. But welcome back to iOS Today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent, and I gotta say, I received some feedback about the show, and something that I failed to do last time was to not only I went as far as to introduce the new co-host of iOS Today, but I didn't quite give a good explanation for what the heck is going on. So now everybody thinks, I'm not even joking about this, everybody is asking me, did Leo die? Did he retire? What's going on? I've received that message multiple times. So let me explain. Leo Laporte does about 90 trillion shows every week on the Twit network. And if you are a fan of Leo, then you know that he does a lot of shows. And the poor guy needs to have maybe 1 day of breathing before he goes on to take on the other 90 trillion shows that he does. And so he felt, and I felt, and we felt that iOS Today was in good hands. Thank you, Leo. And that there was someone incredible who would be the perfect addition to the iOS Today, lineup as a return or repeating guest on the show, and now as the co-host here. So we reached out to Rosemary Orchard and said, hey, would you like to join iOS Today? And thank goodness, so happy, so excited that Rosemary, you said yes. And Leo and I both appreciate it. He is not dead. He is not retired. He just has so many shows to do. And if there was a place where we could go, okay, Leo is going away, but let's find someone who is just absolute blow away awesome. And we did. We found Rosemary Orchard. So thank you, Rosemary, for being here.
Well, thank you for being a great co-host, Micah, because this show would not be the show it is without you. So let's have some fun together doing this.
Yes, and that is what we plan to do today. So it is a new year, and with the new year comes the idea of bettering yourself and stepping forth and learning and being better and all of these things. And first of all, I want to say, if you are breathing in this new year, then you have all of my applause and all of my, my respect, because even just like existing is enough, if you ask me, after this past year. 2020 was a rough one. And so just existing is enough. But if you take that and you go even further with it and you say, you know what? Not only do I want to exist in 2021, I want to learn a new skill, or I want to pick up a new habit. I think you're amazing. And we wanted to, on this episode, kind of talk about some of the apps and services out there that can help you do that. So, you know what? Keep being awesome. Keep rocking it. And let's talk about some apps to help you with your New Year's resolutions, if you have any. If your New Year's resolution is just, I just want to exist in 2021. I just want to sit on the couch in 2021. You know what? I applaud you on that alone. But what do we got, Rosemary? What do we got today?
Well, we've got a bunch of things. And if you just want to sit on the couch in 2021, Netflix Watch Together will allow you to do that with friends. But if you want to maybe set some slightly higher level goals and say, you know what, I'd like to do something to improve myself this year, then I have an app for you. And this app is called Henry Habits, and it is a cute little app. It is $1.99, and you've got this adorable little cat/bear in a box. And when you start it up, it walks you through setting everything up and creating some habits. I've already done that, and it syncs through iCloud. So even though I set this up on my phone, it's right here on my iPad too. But what I love about Henry Habits is when you tap the plus to create a new habit, then it has this section called Help Me Create a Habit. And it talks all about the psychology of creating habits and how different things can be triggers for that, how there can be rewards and some, other information. And it's got little tips in here as well, like what mistakes that people make, trying to change everything at once. Yes, I'm definitely guilty of that. And then it's got some suggested habits for you. So as you possibly saw before, I already have eat some fruit. And I've been doing that every day for a week now. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Nice.
But I would also like to go for a walk at weekends. So if I tap go for a walk, it pops up with a confirmation. And I just tap add, and then it has some tips to help me actually stick to my goals. Because there's nothing worse than starting a goal and then immediately feeling like you failed. And Henry Habits, has all of these different steps. There are 11 in total, including, small steps compound into big life changes later, which is, of course, important. So when you tap done, it comes up with a little quote, and you can share this because they say sharing your goals can help your family, with your friends and family, can help you actually achieve them, which can be true. Or maybe if you're like me, then actually sharing your goals kind of gives you that dopamine hit of, yes, I've done this. And then it turns out you don't actually do the goals. So, take that, with a pinch of salt. But then once things come up, it says, okay, so now I've got one thing undone. I actually did go for a walk earlier today. It wasn't a long walk, but I did go outside and go for a walk. And once I tap that, it says that's it for today. But not only do I have this today view, if I tap forwards, then it has a week view, and I can see what percentage of my habits I've done this week. And if I tap forward into the month, then I can see how much I've done in the month. And then, you can just see all of this. And inside the settings, there's some other things as well. So you can change your pet if you wanted to. So I have Henry right now, but Mikah, I know you love dogs. So if I keep working at it, I can unlock Charlie. And that's the thing. You pay $1.99 for this app, but then as you actually complete your habits, then you unlock other things like, different dogs and things like that. So I think that this is super cute and a great way of, having some fun whilst also setting some habits and getting things done.
I think, okay, so the illustration, the sort of the different take on things is what makes that habit app unique. I think that it's very easy to kind of fall into a more militarized version where it's just like, have you done this thing? You haven't, you fool. And this feels really light, really, really sweet. And yeah, I could really like, you come in and you want to make the kitty. What did you call it? A kitty bear?
Well, I called it a kitty bear because it kind of looks like a kitty bear to me. If anybody's played Bears versus Babies, then there's some different bears, but there's a cat head, and then there's with a kitty tummy, or a bear head with a kitty tummy. I always like putting those together, and it kind of reminds me of that for some reason. So this is a really cute app, and I just love the way that it makes me feel super chilled about getting things done, but at the same time, it's not lacking in functionality like so many of these apps out there are. Because the last thing you want if you want to build a good habit is to feel like your habit app is the one that's slowing you down, rather than the actual habits. You got to focus on the important things.
Yeah. And then the fact that it's not a subscription service, I think, is going to appeal to a lot of people. You buy the app, it's yours. And then you can unlock so many new pets. Yes. Look at all those dogs and kitties. And
exactly.
foxes?
So even if you're not a cat person, like, and maybe you have dogs like Mikah does, then, you can unlock the dogs. Personally, I'm going for the cats, but, everybody has their preference.
Those are so cute. Oh, that's a great app. So $1.99 in the App Store. And is it iPhone and iPad?
Yes. Yeah. So I was showing this on my iPad, but I set it up on my iPhone a week or so ago to set up my fruit tracking. And and it works perfectly on there. It's also on Mac, I believe. So if you want to keep track of your habits on the Mac, then you can do that too.
Yep. Got to get this one for sure. Thank you for selling me on yet another app. I love universal apps. I think that, and when I say universal apps, we used to mean available on iPad and iPhone. Now we mean available on Mac, iPad, and iPhone. That's so nice because I'm on all of those devices throughout the day, and to be able to sort of be reminded about a habit or whatever I might be doing and keeping track of that, I think is great. Did I see mindfulness in the list?
Yes. So there is mindfulness as a habit option. I'm just going to just tap back on that, and I'll switch back to my iPad here. If I tap, I'll create it myself. Then I can create, my own habits. But I'll just walk through the create habit again and just tap next a couple of times. And then here you can see that there's meditation specifically. So that's just something that's suggested as a daily basis. Now, this doesn't integrate with the health app, but it does.
That was going to be my question.
But if you want something like that, we covered some habit tracking apps, including Streaks on episode 480 that I guested on last year, actually. And Streaks can integrate with health. So that might be if you want to automatically track breathing. So, for example, your Apple Watch pops up and then you want to, have that logged and then your habit automatically completed once you've done that. Then, Streaks might be a better solution. But at the same time, there's nothing stopping you going and checking this at the end of the day and going, yeah, I did that. And of course, if I know that I did some breathing yesterday, then I can actually jump forward into the week review, and then I can actually go back and check that off in retrospect. So I can say that that's been done before.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's Henry Habit on the App Store. What do you have for us next?
Well, my next application, I'm sure many of our watchers and listeners have heard of it, is Duolingo. And Duolingo, again, cute cartoon birdie, but it's a great way of learning a language. And I know I personally did not travel anywhere near as much last year as I would have liked to. I love traveling and I love being all over. I was originally going to be coming to San Jose and San Francisco around WWDC and popping by the Twit studio. Unfortunately, there was a certain global pandemic that prevented that from happening. But this year I've decided that I'm actually going to learn Portuguese. And so you can select from a variety of languages inside of Duolingo. And I'll just say I heard about them on the App Store. And I'm learning this for travel. And you can say why you're learning this. And then it goes through and each language is, you can say that you're a casual learner, a regular learner, a serious, or an intense learner. I personally like to be a casual learner, and you can enable notifications. And then I'm learning Portuguese for the very first time. And so I'm going to take a guess that this is probably woman. And I was correct. So I like the fact that as you go through with Duolingo, it starts at the very basics of a language and then moves up. So I actually studied foreign languages as part of my degree. It was my degree. I studied applied languages, French and German. And I have done this for French and German before. It's sort of a refresher. And it came out, I very much enjoyed it. It was, lower level than I was expecting because I'm fluent. But it works really nicely to give you a basic foundation in a language that maybe you would just like to, start picking up for some reason. So if you wanted to, say, learn Italian because you would love to go to Italy and actually be able to order pasta in Italian, well, the good news for you is maybe many pasta sauces and pasta names are actually the original Italian. So you just need to learn how to do the actual ordering. And that is something that you can find out how to do with Duolingo.
Now, Duolingo is one of, many language learning apps. Can you tell the listeners out here kind of what's the reason to kind of go with this one over some of the others, and what do you find makes it, the best, or if not the best, one of the most important ones for you?
For me, the reason why I like it is just because it gives you a 5-minute or 10-minute or however many minute session every single day, and it repeats things that you've previously learned. So I also studied teaching English as a foreign language and teaching generally. So I have a foundation. I'm not an expert, of course, but I have an idea in how to teach languages, and reusing vocabulary and picking things up again and again and reintegrating things that you've previously learned and not just ignoring them is really important. And that's something I found works very well with Duolingo. And the fact that they appear to have got native speakers, at least for all the languages that I've tried, to speak the actual individual words instead of something like Google Translate, which I have heard robotic voices teaching languages in apps before. That was interesting and not the most accurate. So that's one of the reasons why I like Duolingo. And also you can share your progress and so on social media if you want to. And I believe there is a friend function as well, which I did use several years ago, but I have not used recently.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's Duolingo, and it's free to download in the App Store. I know a lot of people who use Duolingo. That seems to be a very popular app for language learning, and it quickly has grown in popularity in the sense that it's almost become one where you say it and many people know exactly what you're talking about. Duolingo Plus starts at $9.99. I see in-app purchases for up to $79.99. I'm imagining that's either a year subscription.
That's a lot of month subscription in one go. I can't remember if that was a year plan or a 5-year plan, but it was certainly a long time plan. But you can also just use Duolingo totally for free, which is predominantly how I've used the app over the years. I did pick up some subscriptions before some language exams when I was studying Spanish and Italian. But other than that, I've pretty much used it for free, and it works really well. It's a lovely app.
Gotcha. All right. Well, my first app is one that was introduced to me by former co-host on the show, Megan Maroney. This is an app that was created by Google, and it is called Primer. Primer is an app that is for folks who are looking to start a business or are trying to better understand kind of social media marketing, those kinds of tools that or skills that maybe you don't think of right off the bat. But if you are, I think a lot of people are, they've got creative things that they do and they want to turn it into a business. Maybe they want to, become a streamer, or they want to create an Etsy shop, or they want to take their skills as a coder and become an app developer or become a website designer, something like that. Primer is filled with lessons and skills that you can learn for free to help you kind of pick up on those things. So here are some of the lessons that are available. Keep mobile users engaged in and out of your app. Target, pitch, and win over the media. Go beyond keywords. Know how customers really search online. So these are some of the skills that the app recommended to me based on whatever I tapped at the time to say, this is what I'm trying to do. So give me some lessons that would help me figure those things out. But let's look at some of the featured courses. So adapt your business and prepare to overcome challenges. Create a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace culture. And some of the lessons, let's actually tap into enable safer, more secure customer transactions with contactless payments. See, this is what I like about this app is that it's not sort of your average typical lessons that you might think of whenever you think about a free kind of learning app. These are things that are very specific but are important for a business. So I'll tap start on that. And then I can, I'm swiping to move. Oops, there we go. Swiping to move to the next thing. So we'll go over and it says, here's what we're going to answer. Contactless payment. Why is contactless payment important and how do I set it up? So it starts and you can see these beautiful little illustrations and you can read through and understand sort of what contactless payment does and how it works with NFC, and it explains NFC here. And then most importantly is how to set it up. And so you can call your payment terminal provider or visit their website to check if your device can accept NFC payments. If your device isn't capable, then you need to get one that is. And then it talks about how to actually use it. So these little lessons can help you. But then along with these, and we'll choose, let's do it. What steps do you need to take to make this happen? And then we'll just mark this through. Oh, yes, I've done all of it. Yes, and I'm done. And then you can say, got it. So now it says, hey, good work. You completed a lesson. And then it gives you some suggestions for lessons that you can also try. You can choose to share that lesson out if you want to, or the fact that you completed it. And then some other stuff that's available. I know that there's also, yes, here we go. So along the side here, clicking on the hamburger or tapping on the hamburger menu shows you some of the other categories. So as I said, branding and identity, video marketing, social media marketing, keep your eyes on the prize, running online giveaways, photograph your products like a professional. And so all of these tiny little skills that can help you understand how to do a good job. See, and it's showing you by having you go, I think you can imagine which photo is the better one. Is it the messy one or is it the nice, clean, organized one? Aha! Yes, you should post the better photo. Anyway, you can go through these and kind of start to learn about these different marketing, social media marketing, and how all of these tools work. And I just think that it's great to have a bunch of different mini lessons that can help you with a business, and especially things that you don't know how to do, know how to use, know how to set up. So that's Primer. It is available for free, no in-app purchases, nothing like that. You log in with your Google account, and then it's available for you to use from that point on. Google Primer in the App Store.
That is great, Mikah. I've been looking for something like this. It turns out I've already downloaded the app, but I did not realize what it was. I think I was just going through downloading a bunch of Google apps as a G Suite admin and must have grabbed that one by accident. But it was not installed on my iPhone until about 30 seconds ago. So you've officially sold me on that one.
Nice. All right. So tell me about your next selection.
My next selection is all about healthy eating. So you might have spotted there was an Eat Healthily habit in the Henry Habit app, which is a great way to get started. But sometimes it's easier to keep track of things slightly more, precisely. And if, say, you want to gain some weight or lose some weight this year, or just maintain your weight, and so you're not going in either direction, then you're probably going to be looking for some app which helps you log your food. And for that, I've chosen Foodnoms. Now, Foodnoms is an app which is very similar to MyFitnessPal, only this syncs with iCloud. And so your data is on your device and in Apple servers, and that's it. So the privacy angle is considerably, stronger. The other reason why I love Foodnoms is I can log food and I can create a library of food. Now, this is I've wiped it and set it up again so that not everybody's seeing how many bars of chocolate I've eaten so far today. But I can, so here at the bottom, when I log food, I can either do a quick entry, create a food, create a recipe, or create a meal. But I can also scan things with a barcode. And let's see whether or not these crackers show up. It looks like it's tried. And now I need to scan the nutrition label. So it can't find these crackers. I'm not surprised. They're from Aldi over here. But there we go. And it says done. So let's tap done. And now I have the carbohydrates and everything from these very healthy, savory crackers, which are lightly salted, baked in sunflower oil. And so I can just go ahead and I'll name the crackers. I'll come back and tidy this up later and just tap done. And I'm going to ignore the warning and save this anyway for the time being. And here you can see there is a community database option. So the community database is something that you are not opted into by default. You need to go into the settings and set that up, and you have to sign in with Apple to do that. That's the only sign-in option. So they're very privacy focused. And basically, it allows you to get food out of the community database, but also add food to the community database. I will not submit this because this is not complete. Right. But I'm going to say that I have had, I'll go with one serving, which is 100 grams. It's not quite that, but I will just say that I've logged that. And then if I go done, then you can see that I have crackers. It was logged at 19:29, and it was suggested that the meal type was dinner. Now, this was actually a snack, and I had this about 2 hours ago. So let's just change that. So there we go. I've now logged my crackers. And up here, so when I started the app, I had to input my current weight and my height. And it asked if I wanted to input specific nutrition goals, or if it wanted me to calculate for the app to calculate it for me. I said, go ahead and calculate it for me. I am not a nutritionist. Of course, medical disclaimer, neither is this app. If you have specific nutritional needs, you should be speaking to a medical professional to make sure you're going to be fulfilling those. And salty crackers are probably not going to be something on your, good to eat list anyway. But this can tell me how many calories I've got left remaining today, how much protein I should probably still eat, carbohydrates, and fat. And so I can also then go back in the calendar and go, for example, to yesterday and see what I logged there. As I said before, I wiped this out, so there's not a lot there. But then under goals, I can see, what is my calorie budget versus my protein budget, my carbohydrate budget, and my fat budget. And I can also add new goals. And I can say, intermittent fasting could be one of those if that's something you're doing, or having a specific amount of calcium in my diet. So if, for example, your doctor has recommended that you make sure to keep up your calcium intake, that's something you can keep track of with Foodnoms, which I love. And then in the settings, we have the community database here. And I've set it to always ask me before submitting foods. And I can also have show the option when editing. So whenever I edit a food that I've added to my library, then I can do that. I can also control my meal types, and you can see here automatically selects that meal type for you. But I find this is a great way to track what I'm eating without worrying that some big corporation somewhere is, monitoring what I eat and potentially trying to feed me ads on Instagram based on the fact that I have crackers for lunch. Actually, technically, it was crackers and chocolate with cheese because, I thought cheese would probably make it healthier. Does that make it healthier? Cheese is delicious,
sure.
So it's all good.
We'll go with that. Yeah. Foodnoms is made by a fantastic developer, and I think it's such a beautifully designed app. That's one of the things for me is like every once in a while you get an app that just it looks so good and it's just so well designed and so clean, and it's like having a piece of I don't know. It's sort of in your wardrobe. You've got outfits that you really like, and this feels like one of those. It's just, I love when I pull this out. You know what I mean? I love when I wear this. In this case, it's like I love when I run this app. It looks fantastic on my device. It works very well. And then those privacy considerations, like you said, that those nutrition facts and things like that, your nutrition details are not being shared with a bunch of different places and used to market towards you. I think that is something that can't be, disregarded.
Yeah, exactly. And especially nowadays, corporations are doing all sorts of things with our data. Google recently bought Fitbit. Is that something you're happy with, or are you maybe going to move away from those devices? So you have to figure out, what makes you happy. And for me, knowing that my device is not stored on, servers with a bunch of other people's eating habits, and it's stored, in my iCloud account, that makes me feel pretty good about things. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with Foodnoms.
Nice. All right. Let's talk about Daylio. Tell me about Daylio.
Yeah. Daylio is a journaling app with a little bit of a difference. So here I'm creating a journal entry for today. And you can see it's got the time 1933 because I'm over here in the UK. And it asks me how I'm feeling. And am I feeling rad, good, meh, or awful? Well, I'm currently in the middle of doing iOS today. So I'm going to go with I'm feeling rad. And then it asks me what I've been up to. And all of these can be customized. So you can say, for example, I've eaten healthily today, medium sleep probably. I definitely did some reading, and I might have watched some TV and played on my Nintendo Switch today. And I've been chatting with friends and family on the phone because, have to keep away from people. And then once I'm done, I can just tap save. And it has automatic backups, so I can have that. But then I can just see a little overview of what my day is like. And as I go through, it will build up some stats. So I can see, my mood count in total, my goals, which I set up to drink water every day. I am actually doing that. And which activities I've done. And I can build up a count of those. So I can see, for example, if frequently, eating junk food means that I have days where I don't feel rad, I feel awful, then perhaps that is a correlation that I should have a look at and go, okay, well, maybe I should eat a little bit less junk food because that's not making me feel good. It's making me feel bad. And that, the idea behind this is it's guided journaling. So you don't have to type anything, which I love. Because, sometimes you're just not really in the mood to type. But at the same time, I love the fact that I'm then keeping my journal every day so that I can go back and I can see, how often have I done this? And I can get reminders. I get them at 8 p.m. usually, so that I actually fill this in every single day. And I love this because there is nothing more exciting than being able to go back and say, yeah, yesterday was a good day. I had some good sleep. I did some gaming. There was an online party. It was very exciting. But I did not eat any sweets, which was good for me. So I also ate healthily. I did some meditation and I did some cleaning and some cooking and laundry. I did all of those yesterday. So now I can see I've got 3 entries in total. I have another test one that I did before the show to make sure that wiping my device had not killed anything out. And everything is looking great. And I can see my mood chart is indeed improving. And I can select activities if I need to go through and enable or disable them as well.
Got it. I think, again, another very beautiful app. I wonder, I'm curious, one of these things with these apps is that there is some overlap. And
yes.
you can kind of find a reason for having multiple apps. How do you kind of combine the use of these? What is it that makes you also use something like Daylio and not just, for example, Henry Habit? Because I understand that, it's a little bit different, but what is it that Daylio provides that people might want to have more than one kind of habit tracker, habit journaling system?
Well, specifically what I'm looking for with Daylio is the mood tracking. Am I feeling great or am I feeling awful? Or am I feeling somewhere in between? And let's be honest, for most of the last year, it's been somewhere in between the two. I'm wildly swinging backwards and forwards. And I love the fact that this is very focused on that. Whereas the Henry Habit Tracker is very much like, I should get up and do this thing. This is very much, this is the review afterwards. How am I feeling about everything? Because just because I've said, I should eat healthily every day, I should eat some fruit, I should do some exercise, I should go for a walk at weekends, is that actually making me happy? And I like the fact that I can split those up so that I genuinely get to see, I am happy overall and my habits are linked to that, or I'm not happy overall, but my habits aren't linked to that, or they are linked to that. So my habits are making me unhappy. So I can try and unpick, maybe what a problem is and make myself feel better overall.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Okay. And that one is free to download. And does it have in-app purchases? Yes.
Yes.
For $2.99 a month or $11.99 a year. Is that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's got a little discount if you buy it on a yearly basis. But I found that it's currently £8.99 a year, so that would be $11.99. And that to me seemed very affordable. It's certainly cheaper than some of the other apps out there, such as Day One, which is also a great app if you want to do journaling in the more traditional sense of, taking photos and writing entries. But this for me is just a great, mood tracker overall.
All right, I've got another habit tracker to talk about, but first I want to take a quick break to tell you about, I just love them. I love them so much. They're running right now. It's ExpressVPN, and they are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. So let me ask you, how did you choose which internet service provider to use? The sad thing is most of us have very little choice, like me here, and me, frankly, in the Midwest, too. I had very little choice because ISPs, they operate like monopolies. Let's be real about that. That's pretty much how they work. It's hard to find another ISP when your ISP is giving you all sorts of trouble. They then use this power to take advantage of their customers with data caps, with streaming throttles, and so much more. But worst of all, many ISPs log your internet activity and sell that information to other big tech companies or advertisers. To prevent ISPs from seeing my internet activity, I protect all of my devices with ExpressVPN. Look, I'm already paying an extra fee every single month to not have to have the data cap that my ISP has. I have to pay, on top of just paying for my internet, an extra, I think, $30 a month so that I don't get dinged at the end of every month for needing to use more data than what's given to me. And so do I want to also give that company the ability to sell my data to other people, to other companies so that they can make even more money off of me? Heavens no. And so that's why I use ExpressVPN. What is ExpressVPN if you've never heard of it? Well, it's a simple app for your computer, for your smartphone, for your set-top box that encrypts all your network data and tunnels it through a secure VPN server so that your ISP can't see your activity. Just think about how much of your life is on the internet. Or don't, because that gets a little scary, huh? Sadly, every site you visit, every video you watch, every message you send, it gets tracked by ISPs, who can then sell your information for profit. That's the reason I recommend ExpressVPN as the best way to hide your online activity from your ISP. Of course, it's important to understand that it's the activity that you're doing. It's not necessarily the exact message that you're sending to your friend or to another person. But to use ExpressVPN, you just download the app, you tap one button on your device, and it really is that easy. You're protected as soon as that's done. And ExpressVPN does all of this without slowing your connection. In fact, Anthony, if you want to cut really quick to my screen, here I am on my iPad. I've launched the ExpressVPN app. I tap that button right there and done. It's connected. That's all it took. That's it. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. And I'm connected to ExpressVPN. It really is. When we talk about tapping one button on your device, it really is that simple. ExpressVPN does it all without slowing your connection. So that means that you, like I said, I often forget that I have it running because it's connected and it's working and I don't have any slowdowns. So I just have it on all the time. It's rated the #1 VPN service by CNET, by Wired, and by golly, it's the #1 service rated by Mikah Sargent. I love ExpressVPN. So stop handing over your personal data to ISPs and other tech giants who mine your activity and sell off your information. Protect yourself with the VPN that I genuinely, sincerely trust to keep my data private online. Visit expressvpn.com/IOS today. That's expressvpn.com/iOS today to get 3 extra months for free. That's such a great deal. Go to expressvpn.com/iOS today right now to learn more. ExpressVPN, thanks so much for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. And thank you for keeping my data safe and protected online. We do appreciate you. All right. So I mentioned I was going to talk about a habit tracker. Different folks have different desires for their apps in terms of the way that they look, the way that they function. And while Henry Habit is seeming to be the one that's for me, there was one that I want to mention. It's called Everyday Habit Tracker, and it's colorful, it's minimalistic, and it is a habit tracker that works like you, I think, would expect. So the main screen here shows you a very easy and very colorful and kind of, fun bit of artwork that is actually the graph of the habits that you've completed. So on the left, you see your habits: drink a glass of water, walk the dog, eat healthily. And each of these sort of rows, or columns rather, corresponds to a day of the month. And you simply tap on one of them to say that you have completed that task for that day. So at the bottom of each of these columns is a number, and that corresponds to the days that you've completed that task, the number of times that you've completed that task in a day. And then if I swipe to the left on the graph, I can see my streak to say, oh, wow, I've done 11 days of drinking a glass of water, which hopefully you drink more than one glass of water in a given day. And then you can swipe back to see days before in your schedule. And then one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the information about habits and kind of understanding how habits work. So on the left side, there's it almost looks like a Safari icon. And when I tap on that, you can learn, as you can see at the top, grow with the latest discoveries from neuroscience and psychology on the science of habits, handpicked for you to do it every day. So you can go through and learn about tips for forming new habits. There are videos in here, including the power of habits, habits of repeat performance, and how to start new habits that actually stick. So these are articles, videos, and things like that that are linked from the web to teach you about habit tracking. And these get updated all the time so that you can learn about habits and how they actually work. And then you've got this screen for overview. So it shows you across kind of the scope and the whole set of habits that you've tracked, how you've done. So as you continue to complete habits, you start to build this chart that ends up being like a piece of artwork. And I think that that's kind of the fun thing, is that along with learning or picking up a new habit, you are building out this kind of beautiful creation that shows you how well you've done. To kind of talk about the colors here. So you can see walk the dog. Maybe you missed a day. So on Saturday, you didn't walk the dog. So the square is completely empty. If I tap on that, you'll notice there's a color change that takes place. So I'll tap it again. And right now, it's a gradient from red to light yellow. But when I tap on that, the yellow gets even lighter. And that's because it kind of adds to that gradient from dark to light. And what about these little slashes here? Well, there are days where you have to skip for, a good reason, but breaking a habit can be very, it can cause kind of a self-destruction when it comes to maintaining a habit. So you miss one day for a good reason, and instead of continuing, you've built up 60 days of working out every day or exercising every day. And then you miss one day because you got sick or something came up. And then our brains can kind of latch onto that so-called failure. And we end up going, well, I guess I'm not doing this anymore. I'm mad and I'm, disappointed. And so then you completely lose it. So this has a built-in kind of a grace feature, so to speak. And that's what that slash represents. So it's, I had to skip this day for whatever reason, but I'm maintaining my streak because forgiveness is important. And maintaining your overall habit is more important than just missing a day in the lineup. So yeah, you can tap it twice to kind of do the half measurement. And you do see that the colors kind of shifted based on whether you had to skip the day or you completed the day. So it's much darker whenever you've completed it versus if you had to skip. So I like this for, like I said, the color, there's something to be said for sort of building up over time this piece of artwork. And then if I tap new habit, I'll just show here how setting up habits work. Oh, so the free version of the app lets you create 3 habits at a time. And then if you want more, then you will need to buy the subscription. So it is a subscription app. It's $4.99 a month. I think $20 a year, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to delete $30 a year, one of these habits, just so I can show you how the new habit thing works. So here we go. We can create a new habit, and let's call it have a glass of wine. And then you give it a longer description. Have 1 glass of red wine, cause my heart doctor said it was good for me. And of course, the color we'll choose is red for that. And then you choose a time. So that's one of the things that I don't like, is that you can't do multiple times a day. So like drinking a glass of water, instead of remind me to drink a glass of water at this time, this time, and this time, you kind of say drink the necessary water in a given day. And then at the end of the day, you'd go in and mark it done. But let's say definitely not 7 a.m. people. 7 p.m. we have our glass of wine. And then when do you want this? Well, I just want it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we will save that habit. And now it becomes one of them on the list. And I can start to say, yes, I've done that, even on days, apparently, that I had off. So you can add that to the list as well. So yeah, if you are looking for kind of a colorful habit tracking system that you end up with a creation at the end of the time. Yeah, and here we go. Anthony, for those who are listening, Anthony's pulling up a really great animation that shows you kind of how the habit tracking system looks over time and how it builds up this beautiful piece of artwork almost. And the way that they show it online is that you can kind of correspond colors to different types of habits. So maybe red are your health habits, brushing your teeth 3 times a day, go exercising, and then the green ones could be related to your work or something like that. So plan your day, remember to set up this meeting, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of different stuff that you can do, and it is available on all sorts of devices. So yeah, that is Everyday Habit Tracker, and it's just another option that you can take. Let's see. Do you want to tell us about Reflectly?
Yes, I would love to tell everybody about Reflectly. So Reflectly is kind of the next version up from Daylio. So if you've had a look at Daylio and said, this seems like a great app, but I need to check in more times in a day and I want those prompts appearing regularly, then Reflectly is probably the app for you. So the idea of Reflectly is you can add a mood check-in, but you can also add voice notes and photos. So maybe, for example, if you ate a bunch of junk food and you want to add a photo of the wrappers or something to remind you why you're not feeling so good, you could do that. But what I love about Reflectly is you can actually have it pop up multiple times a day to ask you what you should be doing. Or how you're feeling. And then you also have this reflection at the end of every day. And it asks you questions, which you then answer. So, for example, today's question is, what is worse for me, failing or never trying, and why? And so I can go ahead and say, failing because I feel bad, which is, a good answer, obviously. And I can save my reflection. And then it's logged right here. And I can also do a mood check-in at any point in my day. So I can say that I'm feeling super awesome because of work and friends, aka Mikah Sargent on iOS today. And I can go through and, add some other things, maybe the weather's making me feel good, or some music, or my health, exercise, food. And I can also specify how I'm feeling about this. So I'm feeling lucky and good and happy. So let's tap those. I can add a title and notes, or I can just leave it as that. So this offers more detail than something like Daylio, but is not, it's still very much focused on mood and self-care and then getting statistics out once you've got that far. It also has a series of quotes in there, which you can love. So you never change your life until you step out of your comfort zone. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone, according to Roy T. Bennett. And I can share this as an Instagram story, or I can save it as an image to my photo album, which, there we go. I'll just allow access to photos, and it's saved it to my device. So underneath the profile, then inside of settings, then I can see my Reflectly plan when I have check-in reminders, so between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., positivity reminders 5 times a day. And I can also create custom activities, and I can even change my theme. So if, for example, green makes me feel really good, then I can change Reflectly to have a green theme, which shows up throughout the app, which is just lovely. And this is really well designed. It's, fairly simple. And I end up with a little timeline building throughout my day that shows me my different entries right here. So I can see, I've got little entries. I've got a question. If I were to add a photo, so for example, this photo right here, which is of the quote, then it will upload that and save it. And then I can see that I have a photo check-in as well, which works out really lovely. And then I get a beautiful overview of my day, which, allows me to go back and go, yeah, I was feeling super awesome earlier today, had a bit of a headache. So I was still feeling pretty good, but not super awesome. And maybe if I do another mood check-in right now, then I can say that I'm feeling really terrible or somewhat bad, pretty good, and super awesome. And I love the fact that this is a slider as well. So, I can just kind of pick something and go, oh yeah, somewhat bad. That, yeah, maybe actually, no, you know what? I'm feeling super awesome because, I'm here on iOS today. I can also change the time of any entry if I want to. So say, for example, I want to log something from 9 a.m. this morning when I was feeling somewhat bad because I had meetings and there were all kinds of things going on. Then I can say, work was not making me feel super great. I was bored. I was anxious. I was down. I felt awkward, stressed. There we go. And I can tap that. I can add a title, which would be work, 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 and complete my check-in. And there we go. Now I have my work, work, work. Whoops, that went in at 9:01 p.m. Well, if I go back, I can tap on my pencil to edit any entry. And now if I change the time on this, then I should be able to go back in my day. There we go. So that should be 9:01. Oops. That's getting a little bit. There we go. There's the AM option. Perfect. Done. And there we go. So that you can apparently tell yourself in the future how you'll be feeling. But I was attempting to tell myself in the past how I was feeling. So that could be useful. But I like this as an option up from Daylio, but still not necessarily at the I have to write all of the journal, myself and do everything myself. It's very prompty and helpful.
Yeah, this one reminds me of Line a little bit. I think that's what it's called. Or Path? Is it Path or Line? I don't remember now, but sort of these threads that you build. And so all of these little things can kind of be marked in a given day. And, I think that a blank page for journaling can be kind of complicated. And I like these apps that try and help you to describe your day and explain how you feel and do it in a way that makes it so that it's not like, okay, I'm staring at a blank page. I've got to write down what happened, what's going on. That gets a little bit overwhelming. And so this feels really nice in the sense that it is sort of prompting you and helping you build up along the way. And then you can look back and see sort of your trends over time, right? Like that seems to be one of the tools that's built into it, is to give you insight. Because I don't know about you, but a lot of these days just blend together and you're kind of going, wait, what day is it again? Like if I didn't do podcasts that happened on given days, I would certainly have trouble knowing what day it was. And I think my days would blend together more so than they do.
Yeah, definitely. There is nothing more intimidating than a blank page and a nice pen. This is my Diplomat fountain pen. Even with lovely ink and great paper, sometimes you just sort of sit there and go,
yeah, exactly. I don't know.
And this is why I love these apps, because these apps prompt me to do things. And I do have a written journal with, the pretty pen, but I don't fill it out anywhere near as often as I do those great apps. So there are a couple of options there for people if they want to get started tracking their moods and habits from this year onwards.
Awesome. My next and our final pick for apps is, you hear this a lot, coding. Coding. Coding is the future. Everybody needs to learn how to code. You should code. Can you code? You should code. And I hear this a lot. And there was a time in my life where I was learning at the time, HTML and CSS was the style of the time. And I had those skills and lost them since that time. I think that was like all the way back when I was in middle school. I spent a few summers learning how to build websites. And I kind of look back on that young kid and like, how'd you pull all that stuff off? But I think that these skills are important, and there's a great app out there that I've been using, not for web coding, but for learning Python, which is, I've had multiple people tell me is a great kind of first language to learn. And in the same way when you learn spoken languages, once you learn one language, it becomes easier to learn others because you learn how to learn a language. And so you kind of get the concepts down, you get the basics down. And so Python is a great starting point. And then from there, you can build off of that because you start to understand the concepts. So there's an app called Pi in the App Store. It's available for free with in-app purchases to kind of improve upon that. And it's not just Python. I'll show you kind of from the home screen here first. There are courses for JavaScript, Python, HTML, data analysis, R, which I don't even know what R is, but apparently that's something.
Another
SQL.
data analysis language, actually.
Well, see, Rosemary knows. SQL, data science, REST APIs, and web servers. And so I have been working through the Python library here, and I hesitate to tap into, the new ones, like list functions, but I will go back and do one that's already been completed just to show kind of how it works. So variables let us store values in a name, then we can use the name later to refer to the value. So animal equals lion. If we print animal, then it's going to say lion. And of course, if we print lion, then that would also print lion. Now you try. Set animal to equal the value lion. So I say animal equals lion, run, and it prints lion. We can print variables just like strings. So animal equals lion. And once again, whoops. Come on. There we go. Print animal, run. And combining variables is pretty easy too. So you can say lion equals lion, zebra equals zebra or zebra. Print lion plus zebra. And we get lion zebra. We need to be careful to never use a variable before we define it. So you haven't said that animal equals zebra yet. But if you try to print animal beforehand, it's not going to know because it hasn't been defined. And then once you've assigned a variable a value, we can update the variable by setting it to a new value. Can you guess the output of this program? So first we say the animal equals lion. Then we say the animal equals zebra. So what is it going to print if we choose animal? Well, it's going to print zebra. And that is correct. We have to be a bit careful about what we name our variables. Try a few of the variable names below. Animal equals lion. That works. And what if we do asterisk equals lion? We can't use the asterisk as a variable name. You can't use plus as a variable name. And what can you remember about variables and why they're useful in a program? They store many values in a single name. They set many names to the same value. They use the same value in many places. They use many values in the same place. And then it starts to give you goals and things like that. So it has a built-in habit tracking system that keeps you using it, that lets you build kind of streaks of learning how to finish the program. And over time, you build up those skills. And the way that they seem to kind of, because this is a free app, like I said, with in-app purchases, but the way that it works is that it's tied to a recruitment platform like job board type stuff. And so every once in a while it'll pop up and say, hey, you're doing pretty good. You might want to think about applying for a job on this site, or we can help you, set up a entry on a job board, that kind of thing. So if those prompts annoy you, then maybe this isn't the app for you. But I really liked the simplicity of these skills, the learning system, and the fact that it has those built in, like, you've completed your daily streak, you've done this, and that there are some things in there that I've never heard of before to start learning about them. So that's why I liked Pi. There are lots of different coding learning apps out there that you can check out. But Pi was it was simple, and it was it was entertaining for me. So that's why I ended up checking that out. Have you done any learn to code apps?
I've not really done apps, so much more websites overall, but I did install Pi earlier today, and I went through it. I've been programming for over 5 years now, so as my day job being a developer specifically for web, so I actually have very little experience with Python. So I told it, I've got experience, and it came up with a quiz for me, and I'm loving this. Why do we use loops? Because we feel like it, because it makes our code more interesting to look at, or because it allows us to avoid repeating code. In case you're curious, the correct answer is indeed the last one. Of repeating code is a bad thing. And I got the correct answer, and I'm liking this. And it seems like a great app, and I need a refresher on Python. Actually, I had to, or didn't have to, I chose to build a Telegram bot earlier this week to help a friend out with a game that he's organizing. And it took me a while to figure out how to do things in Python, because guess what? PHP is different, and that's what I use most days. So I'm really glad that I now have an app that I can try this out with, and I can refresh my skills in some other languages like R at the same time. So I'm looking forward to this.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for the first segment of the show. Those are some of the apps that you can check out to help you build habits, to track your mood, to learn new skills, and so much more as we kick off 2021. But again, I kind of round out this segment with simply saying, give yourself a bit of a break. 2020 was a rough and tough year. And if you don't feel up to learning new skills starting off this year, that's okay. You get, I'll write you a hall pass. I'll write you a 2021 hall pass. Here it is, officially signed by me. You're free to go. But if there are things you want to pick up, things you want to do, I hope that these apps will help you with that. Up next, it's time for the news. All right, Rosemary Orchard. So CES 2021 just happened. It was online. It was, nobody went to Vegas, or I shouldn't say nobody, but in-person Vegas CES was not a thing this year. And so there are things to talk about, products that were announced, and Mac Rumors has a great roundup of the best Apple-related accessories at CES 2021. Up first is the Pioneer Wireless CarPlay receiver. So this is a pretty cool product because it is a product that works for more vehicles. Some vehicles have single DIN spaces on their car console, their dashboard, and some people have double DIN spaces. Most of the modern cars tend to have double DIN spaces. But if you've only got kind of one slot into which you can put one of these receivers, you'll want to check out the new one from Pioneer that's going to be launching this summer, because it'll work in that space. But not only does it feature wired CarPlay, it also features wireless CarPlay. Up to this point, many of the receivers out there, you had to plug it in with the lightning cable at the bottom of your phone. And that wasn't an issue for many people. It was fine. It also meant that your phone was being charged. But some people wanted to just kind of keep their phone put away, like in your bag, your purse, whatever, and not have to worry about, pulling it out and getting that set up. And so for those people, they'll be happy to know that CarPlay is going to work wirelessly with some of these new devices. So I think it's taken a while to sort of propagate and get out there. But now with the introduction of this, after market device, I think that really speaks to the final settling in of the wireless CarPlay technology that I think some of us have been waiting for.
Yeah, I would say that this is much better than something that only supports wired CarPlay, purely because for those short trips where you don't think, I need directions or whatever, it's not worth the hassle of getting my phone out of my pocket or a bag or whatever to plug it in. You still get the great features of messages being read out to you and things like that, which, the last thing you should be doing while driving is, fumbling to get your phone out because it's ringing and you don't know who's calling or something like that. Thanks to CarPlay, you get all of that, built in. Some cars have, Bluetooth and stuff that can do, some of that functionality on its own. My 10-year-old Honda Fit does not have any of that functionality. It has a CD player. But that's pretty much as modern as it gets. So I've actually got a CD dock with a magnet on it, with a MagSafe charger on top of that, and a Bluetooth adapter in my car. But I'm feeling like I may be doing an upgrade this summer, because CarPlay would be great, but I have held off on installing an aftermarket CarPlay system in my car purely because I don't want to have to plug my phone in every single time. So with a wireless option, I could see myself actually doing this.
Nice. Another thing, many people have complained about the fact that since the sort of exit of the Thunderbolt display from the market, Apple's own monitor, external monitor, the Thunderbolt display, there hasn't been a first-party monitor nor a third-party monitor that fits the look and feel and resolution and quality that one would want as an external monitor for their macOS or iOS devices. And it seems that CES has given us the first opportunity to potentially have a monitor that does what we want it to do, that is at the level that we want it to be. And LG announced its OLED ultrafine monitor. It's a 31.5-inch display. It's, 5K display with HDR. It is a very very high quality display. And I think that, folks who don't want the Pro Display XDR because it costs so much money, this could maybe be an option for them to have a high quality display to pair with their macOS and iOS, especially iPadOS devices.
Yeah, this seems great. And I mean, LG also announced I think it was a 5K ultra wide display. I'm currently using an ultra wide 34.5-inch monitor. They announced a 40-inch, I believe. And both of these seem great. What I'm particularly interested in here with this, the 31.5-inch that you were talking about, Mikah, is it supports 90 watts of power output, which is big enough for those 16-inch MacBook Pros. But it also has a KVM switch feature. Which means that if you connect it to multiple devices and you connect your keyboard and so on to that, then you will be able to, when you switch inputs, also switch where your outputs are going. So, your keyboard and everything, which is great if you do have multiple machines. And especially with more of us working from home, I can see, a lot of people got sent home with wired keyboards and mice, which are not necessarily a bad thing. They tend not to run out of battery. I'm using a beautiful RGB mechanical keyboard here, which connects via USB. If you plug that into your monitor and then you just switch inputs from your day job machine to your personal machine, that I can see definitely being a selling feature. I know KVM's kind of died out for a while, but I think maybe, this whole work from home thing is bringing them back. So we'll see if people find that feature actually useful or not. But I'm looking forward to seeing what this machine looks like when I can actually get out to a store to look at one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to check this display out for sure. Saatchi has a new multi-device charging station. So Saatchi makes some really great third-party products that sort of fit the look and feel of Apple. I've got Saatchi's Slim X1 Bluetooth keyboard here. It is it's matched with the MacBook Pro that I have in terms of the what is that called? Space gray aluminum with the black keys. And this is a Bluetooth keyboard that works for iPad and macOS. I am using it currently with an iPad that is on a Saatchi iPad stand. So this stand, it has two hinges, one at the base and then one where the iPad can sit inside of it. And so it can go all the way. In fact, there are little rubber feet on the bottom so that you can take it all the way down and kind of have it as an easel sitting on your table. So you can draw with it, but then you can also take it and lift it up. And so it can be sort of lifted off the screen. And this is perfect for me for iOS today to be able to tap on the screen and do all the stuff that I want to do with the app. It's got a port on the bottom so that you can plug in the charger. And so this paired with the Slim keyboard makes for a perfect little system, a little setup where I can have the iPad as the monitor above and the keyboard below. And it is akin to the keyboard and that's built into the case. I have that, but I really like this Saatchi dock specifically for the fact that it's so endlessly adjustable. But at CES, it announced the multi-device charging station. And I think that this becomes more important for folks because many of us have more than one device, and charging them in all these different places does get a little bit hectic. And so you can plug in 4 devices. So they are showing 2 iPads, 2 iPhones, and then the 5th device is just wirelessly charging there on the end, the Qi wireless charger, so that you can charge some AirPods. So if you know, as a family, have multiple devices and you want kind of one place to charge all of them, this dock from Saatchi might be the one for you. There's also, and I'm curious your thoughts on, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love their products. So I have their little Apple Watch charging puck, which has a USB-C on it. And this goes pretty much everywhere with me. I connect it to my iPad Pro frequently because the battery on my iPad Pro lasts for a really long time, but my Apple Watch battery frequently needs charging. I also have the much abused, as you can tell by the paint rubbing off of the corners and the sticker peeling off, one of their chargers with USB-C power delivery, 60 watts on it, which is great when I'm on the road and I need to charge, a laptop and or my Nintendo Switch and or an iPad and an iPhone at the same time. And I find their products are solid and they work really well. So I'm really pleased to see them coming out with more chargers because they are great.
I'm curious your thoughts on the Kensington Studio Dock for iPad Pro. This is, I think, an ugly device. Yeah. But it is truly a dock, meaning it has 3 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C port, an HDMI 2.0 port, a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, an SD card reader, and a gigabit Ethernet port. So you plug in the iPad, and it works as a dock for the iPad. It's got all this technology built into it. You can treat your iPad almost as a computer, especially with that HDMI cord port that's on there. So you could connect an external monitor to your iPad and have all of that work together. And then the base of it has 2 Qi chargers, so you can charge your phone and your pair of AirPods. So while it uses magnetic technology akin to what the case has, the keyboard case from Apple. To hold the iPad, you can do it in portrait or landscape mode. So all of those things are really cool. I just think it's so ugly.
Yeah. So I love the idea of this, but I don't like the execution of this. I'm very concerned that as soon as the next iPad comes out, it's not going to fit. And therefore, that this is not going to work. And I don't know how much tolerance there is on this, whether or not Kensington are building that in. I can see that they've got the Kensington lock on the back of the studio dock, which, of course, I would expect. But I'm wondering how many people need something like this in their office next to their machine, which basically means that they can't use their device while docked with an Apple Pencil. Because they're showing somebody using it with an Apple Pencil while it's docked right now. That to me feels really awkward. So I have a floating stand here for my iPad, and I've got an iPad Mini on it right now, which I use with a Logitech Crayon. If I want to use the Logitech Crayon, I undock the iPad from this stand and I put the iPad down. Sometimes it's in the case, so I have it at a slight angle, but I certainly don't have it 8 inches up in the air, so that I'm doing this awkward floating thing with my hand, just because I don't know, this feels really awkward. This is one of the reasons why Apple have said that their laptops and their Macs aren't touchscreen, because then you're doing this and you get muscle fatigue, having your arm floating all the time. So I could see if you've got a trackpad and so on to connect to this, that could work, but I'm not sold on it. I have an adapter for my iPad, which is on my desk. It's the same one that I use with my work MacBook Pro. And guess what? I have all the same things connected. But if I plug all those things in, then I still have my iPad in its Magic Keyboard, which I really like and cost quite a bit of money. And I would not be willing to give up my Magic Keyboard and trackpad to use the Studio Dock.
Fair.
And it's probably going to be about the same price. So that's suddenly a lot of money on an accessory.
Matthew Casanelli, I talked to him about this, and the one thing where he potentially sold me was using this, because again, I think that you're so right about the Apple Pencil part. That would be awkward. You don't have as much control because you're holding your arm in the air. But the one place where he made it make a little sense is not to use it as a sort of, because the screen repeats whatever you put on it's not as if you have an extended screen. So he was like, well, think about having this dock be there for sitting next to your Mac and using it with Sidecar. So Sidecar, for folks who don't know, is a technology that lets you extend your display onto an iPad from your Mac. And so you would dock it, and then it's high enough to where it can be a good extra monitor for you. And then you kind of just have a place to charge your iPad, have a place to charge your phone and your AirPods. And then when you needed to, you can use the SD card slot to put photos. Because I think that the iPad is a fantastic photo editing device with its incredible display and the fact that you can use the Apple Pencil. But yeah, again, the inability to bring the iPad down kind of easel-wise, makes it really awkward for doing editing with the Apple Pencil.
I feel like if you're just going to be using this for Sidecar, there are a lot of cheaper stands and Qi chargers out there that you could probably buy, because you're not going to be getting the benefits of the Ethernet port or the HDMI port. Now, the HDMI port, maybe I could see this working for presentation places, if they ever come back, like conference halls and stuff, because some apps absolutely do have a presentation mode. MindNote is one that comes to mind. Obviously, Keynote does. And some other apps where, they do display different things on, whatever HDMI out you've got connected to, what you're seeing on your screen. They hide things like toolbars and stuff like that. Or, Keynote obviously has a presentation mode. And so I could see that working for some use cases. But at the same time, I'm not sure if we're really there yet with enough people I'm presenting from my iPad that a conference hall is going to buy 60 of these and put them in every single room. That seems a little out there. So I wonder if we will ever see the sales stats on this, or if it will just be one of those products where Kensington announces it, officially it's launched, but maybe nobody ever actually buys it.
Yeah, Kensington is kind of known for that, frankly. Let us talk about, there's one more that I wanted to touch on. This is a device from Belkin. Belkin already sells in the Apple Store what it calls I think it's called the 3-in-1 MagSafe charger. So it's sort of a metallic T-bar that comes up, and there's a spot for an Apple Watch to charge and a spot for the phone to charge with a MagSafe charger. But at CES, it announced a 2-in-1 wireless charger stand. And so this one's less expensive than the 3-in-1, as you might imagine. And it just has one bar that comes up that has a place for your iPhone. And then the base is a charger as well for a pair of AirPods Pro, for example. So for folks who don't need to charge their Apple Watch as well as their phone and their AirPods Pro, this is an option for you. That costs less money than the 3-in-1 charger. So yeah, that's a good one to have out there as well.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people going for this. There's a lot of people that don't have an Apple Watch or simply charge their Apple Watch in a different place to where they charge their phone. I have a couple of Apple Watch chargers dotted around my house, usually located next to a Qi charger. But on my desk, it's on a completely different side of my desk, because guess what? Most of the time I don't charge my watch at my desk. It's only if I'm having a really long day that I need to check my Apple Watch on a charger over here. And I ended up with an extra one a couple of years ago, which is why I've got one here. But, most people will not do that. And for those people who don't have an Apple Watch or don't plan on getting an Apple Watch anytime soon, a 2-in-1 makes perfect sense. So I'm glad to see that exists.
Absolutely. All right, let us move on to our next bit of news. Apple, I think it was earlier this week, said they were talking with CBS, and they said, hey, we're going to be announcing something very big, and it's not a product, and it will be announced tomorrow. So there was like an interview, I believe it was with Tim Cook, about this thing that they were going to be announcing. And it was Gayle King who said, this is going to be arguably bigger than a product. And since then, it has been announced, and it was Apple kind of putting its money where I wouldn't say putting its money where its mouth is, because it had already put the money, but showing that it had put its money where its mouth is probably the best way to explain it. With the announcement of its first racial equity and justice initiative projects, it had previously said, back when we had protests against police brutality. I shouldn't even say back when, because those continue very fairly. But at the time, there was sort of national unrest regarding police brutality, and Apple said that it was going to spend, pledged $100 million that it was going to put towards racial equity and justice, and so it has since shown some of the way that it's going to spend that money by the creation of the Propel Center, which it calls an innovation hub for the entire HBCU, that's historically Black colleges and universities community, that will provide curriculum, internships, and mentorship opportunities. So this is going to be a place where folks can go to find mentors, to learn new things, and to sign up for internships. But along with that, it is also working on a developer academy that is aimed at supporting coding and tech education for students in Detroit. So in places where development and technology and coding and those kinds of things are historically not available, Apple is working to make those available. So while what I like about this is that, as I said on Tech News Weekly when I was talking about this, there are many companies who find themselves saying, we're going to donate X, Y, or Z amount of money to X, Y, or Z cause. And that's wonderful. And that's where Apple started. But then oftentimes after we hear that, I believe that those companies do donate the money. They do put the money out there, but we don't really know where that money goes, what it's being used for, and it's not kind of like followed up on. So when I say what I'm saying right now, I'm not saying that they are not spending the money that they say they're going to spend. I do believe that they do, but we just don't hear about it. We don't get to see and know what it's going to do. So it was really nice to see Apple come out with, hey, that $100 million, like this is really actually what we're going to do with it. These are the things we've announced. These are the things that we're working on. So props to the whole team that's, working on this. And I'm really excited to see what comes of it. And I'm happy that these issues are being paid attention to in this way.
Yes. Yeah. This isn't actually Apple's first developer academy. The other one, I believe, launched in 2016 in Naples in Italy. But I'm really glad to see that they're putting it in Detroit, which, as far as I'm aware, has had some, unfortunate lack of economic upward movement over a while, thanks to the 2008 recession and some other things. So I'm glad that this, if we get the details on what's happening, because sometimes you don't want details, and that's fine. You can just gloss over it and ignore it. But it's really great to see, big companies going, okay, there's a problem. This is what we're going to do to fix it. And, not just what we're going to do, big scale, but now this is what we're doing details, because it means other companies can rip them off, but in the best possible way. Because if Google wants to open, developer universities in the same way and, promote things for, people from disadvantaged backgrounds, then I would 100% support that, because everybody should be, promoting equality. And I'm fortunate to be from a privileged position. But, not everybody is, and everybody deserves the same chances. So. Agreed.
And then the last bit of news that I wanted to talk about is that there's a rumor that Apple is working on a podcast subscription service. So this, in early news, I'm just going to read here. And it looks like Bloomberg has now followed up on it as well. But here is from the quote: Apple, long considered the sleeping giant in the podcast space because Apple kind of was the original library of podcast collections, is waking up. The company, which runs the most widely used podcasting app in the industry, is discussing launching a new subscription service that would charge people to listen to podcasts, according to people familiar with the matter. Talks between Apple and production companies about the new subscription offering are underway, although it's unclear when or whether Apple will launch the new service. Bloomberg has since published a report. Apple mulls podcast subscription service to chase Spotify. And that is because Spotify, kind of where Apple is the original library of podcasts, Spotify was one of the big players in terms of subscription podcasts. And so sorry, I'm trying to log in to see this Bloomberg article, and they're having me choose traffic lights. Thank you, Google CAPTCHA. So Apple has discussed the plan to create a subscription service with its partners who asked not to be identified. The company also has talked about stepping up funding for new shows and marketing. The plan to create a subscription tier would put Apple in closer competition with Spotify. Apple has been the dominant distributor of podcasts in the U.S. for more than a decade, offering the programs for free, of course. But because Spotify and Amazon are, rivals in the space, Apple is looking for a way to, make money on these services. So I don't know. As a podcast provider, it would be nice if we could offer a subscription tier of Twit shows that, are different in some way, offer premium content in some way in the most used podcast application on the planet. And to make that easier to do, I think would be great. So I think that there's good here. And it's not, I need it to still be a world where podcasts are open and you can still get podcasts for free and that there are free versions of podcasts. But just as a sort of an add-on idea, I think this is a good thing. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think that this is definitely interesting. At least I have read reports of maybe Spotify and some other companies buying podcasts and therefore, paying the podcast hosts, and then those hosts maybe feeling unfairly treated. So I'm hoping that if Apple does do this, it will not turn out that way and that everyone will feel fairly treated. And also that Apple continues to provide the podcast directory for free to all of the developers who currently use it, because most other apps also use the Apple podcast directory to actually find podcasts and show them up. And some of them have their own filters afterwards to block certain things that they don't feel should necessarily be available. But that's another story. But, the back end for a lot of podcast apps is, iTunes, or was iTunes back in the day. It's now Apple Podcasts, but it's probably the same name under the hood. Let's be honest. So I hope that we do get to see this. And I think especially what Bloomberg said about this being a focus for the TV Plus and as a way to promote TV Plus, being able to listen to interviews of people like Tom Hanks about Greyhound and things like that would be great. And I would really love that kind of thing. So if they started it from that perspective, then I'm all in. And we'll see what happens.
Yes, I think that's what it'll be. We need to wait and see. All right, up next, it's feedback, questions, thoughts, etc. Our first bit of feedback comes from Sheppo, and I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Sheppo. Sheppo says, I'm going to be moving house, so I'm looking for the name of an app you mentioned when you were moving house. The app lets you take a picture of the contents of a box and then generates a QR code that you can stick outside the box. Yes, Sheppo, that app was called Sortly. Now, I do have some sorta bad news. And the bad news is that Sortly has since kind of pivoted a bit into being a business app for apps to do, or for businesses to do inventory management. But there is a version of the app that does still work for individuals. And so I will include a link in the show notes to the sort of individual portion of the app, the non-business portion of the app. It's sortly.com/home-inventory. And it lets you use Sortly as a way to keep track of items, but also, as I did, use it to have boxes that you can put the QR code on the outside of and print those out and have them on the outside. So I'm curious, and I this is off the top, I'm sorry, Rosemary. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if you know of any other apps out there that do similar stuff to help you move, just because with Sortly, like I said, it's pivoted to business so much that it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Well, the way I did this when I moved, because I moved during a pandemic and I did not really have a lot of time to do research. Otherwise, I might have found Sortly, is I used shortcuts. And what I did is I used shortcuts to generate a long string of data and encoded that as a URL, as a QR code, sorry. And then I just had I used an application called DataJar to save the encoding of that to match it with a picture in DataJar, so that then I could scan the QR code with a shortcut, and then it would take me to the right picture in DataJar, so I knew what was where. That's how I did it. It's a very nerdy way of doing it. I will see if I can maybe put something together that we can share with Shepboats if he would like to try the shortcuts version. But other than that, I think Sortly is probably the best app. There is an app called Home Inventory, which is included in Setup on the Mac, and there's an iOS companion app, which is for creating an inventory of your home. And that's pretty cool. But I don't know if it has a feature specifically for moving with, the QR codes, which, of course, is what we're after here.
Yeah. And the other problem with I like that data jar tip, because the other thing with Sortly is that it is, because it's kind of meant for businesses, it's very expensive. So I was just looking into it a little bit more, and they have sortly.com/moving to talk about it. But in order to get those QR codes, you have to subscribe, and the prices are expensive. It's $49 a month to be able to use it. And get, because you can use it for free, but you don't get the QR codes. To get the QR codes, you have to pay $49 a month. So I feel like it would be worth it to do the data jar thing. Like the time that you would put into that would be much less than $49 a month, unless you just wanted to pay $50 one time for your move and then be done with it after that. But still, $50 is a lot of money to do a QR code system. I can't in good conscience recommend Sortly anymore, given how expensive it is these days. Because, they really were like, where's the money to be made? It's in the business sector, which is totally understandable in inventory management, because they had a good thing going and it worked well enough for inventory management. So,
Yeah, it's a shame that it's no longer so great for personal use. But unfortunately, that's life, and there are other solutions out there. So good luck with your move, Shippo. Hopefully it will not be quite as crazy as mine was, where all my stuff went into storage for 3 months unexpectedly. So.
Or mine, where I ended up with Bell's palsy and half of my face was frozen. That was not fun.
Yeah. Avoiding unfun things while moving is something I highly recommend. So please, good luck, and eat plenty of chocolate to keep you calm if you can.
Plenty of chocolate, plenty of water, and bless your heart. All right, why don't you read the next one, because this one was one specifically for you.
All right, so this question comes in from Matthew. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. My home is pretty much all iPhone and HomeKit, except for a few Echo devices we have scattered around the house that we mostly use as intercoms to talk to the kids. Could you think of a way I could execute an iOS shortcut? For instance, I have a shortcut to turn off the TV that simply puts the upstairs Apple TV to sleep, and then the TV goes to sleep. Well, this is a question and a half, because even if the first suggestion that I have, which is swap all of the Echoes for HomePod/HomePod Minis, worked. If you're running a shortcut, that's only going to be available to you and your voice, because a shortcut is a personal request. However, if it's a HomeKit device like an Apple TV, then of course that will work. Now, this is of course the most expensive of the options because, HomePod Minis are $99 each. Even if you did manage to get them on sale somewhere, you're still probably looking at quite a chunk of cash. So while I can say I love mine, I have 2 HomePods, 2 HomePod Minis. They work great. I can't really recommend that as the best option. For many devices, you can connect them directly to Amazon services. So, for example, if you have Hue bulbs, then you can connect those directly. But the Apple TV is an interesting one. So I did some research, and there are a couple of things that you can use specifically for the Apple TV. First of all, if you pair the Apple TV with one of the Echo devices using Bluetooth, then you should be able to control it via Bluetooth, which would allow you to do things like increase volume, decrease volume, play, pause, etc. And it should work for putting the TV to sleep too. The other approach, which is definitely a more technical but completely free and should theoretically allow you to access all of your HomeKit devices using your Echo devices, is Homebridge, specifically with a plugin called Homebridge Alexa. Now, this is going to require you to have an always-on machine, such as a Raspberry Pi. But if you set this up, then it will allow you to access everything from light bulbs to, dehumidifiers, curtains, blinds, all sorts of things. So I have a fully HomeKit house, unsurprisingly, being in on the Apple ecosystem. I can open and close my curtains and the blind behind the curtains using the HomePod on my desk or my watch or my phone or my iPad. And it's great. And some of these things are done using Homebridge because I'm using SwitchBot curtains, which don't yet have HomeKit support, but they did release their own Homebridge plugin, making them HomeKit compatible. And this HomeKit compatibility goes both ways. It allows you to add devices which are not yet HomeKit compatible, but it also allows you to add HomeKit devices to services which are not HomeKit compatible, such as your Echo devices. So hopefully one of these will be a solution for you. If you want the really easy route, I'm afraid it's HomePods or HomePod Minis. If you're willing to, dig your hands in and install Homebridge, it is not that tricky. You can install it on a Mac, and there's a lovely UI nowadays, which makes it much easier. You don't have to do anywhere near as much work, on the command line and editing config files manually. But it is going to be a little bit more hands-on, and so have a play and see what works for you. It may be that connecting your Apple TV via Bluetooth to your Echo devices does what you need, in which case, congratulations. That's probably the easiest and cheapest solution without putting everything available on your Echo.
There you go. Our last question comes from Ian. Ian writes, I'm interested to know which app you're using to mirror the iPad on your screen. Is it Reflector or something else? Well, I've never heard of Reflector, so it's definitely not Reflector, but now I'm going to have to check out Reflector. But if we cut to Rosemary, I actually asked her today to use the free version or the trial version of this app because it has the watermark in the top right corner. And the reason why is because we get this question so often, so very often, that I wanted to have it be there for most of the episodes. So even if a person doesn't listen all the way to the end where we're answering these questions, they can know. Go to ecam.live, ECAMM.live, and you could check out Ecam Live, which is the application that I've been using for quite a while now, ever since the pandemic. Staying at home, I've been using Ecam Live to do the switching and stuff like that for my devices. So it's got iPad. You can show your iPad on screen. You can show your iPhone on screen. It's got cool technology too with Skype, where it kind of works as a switcher. Folks use Ecam, like the main use of Ecam Live is actually for streaming online. So think about like gamers and stuff like that, Twitch people, all that, or folks who are doing tutorials or showing, Photoshop work that they're doing. But Ecam has a plugin called Virtual Webcam that basically tricks your computer into thinking that whatever it has set up is a webcam. And so I can go into Skype and choose Ecam as my webcam option and then use Ecam's different stuffs to pull that up. So Ian, to answer your question, it is Ecam Live. You can go to ecam.live to get that. And to everyone else who asks almost every week, I love you. It is Ecam Live. You can check it out there. That's it. That's it. All right, Rosemary, it's time to put on some hats because it's time for our app caps.
All right. Are you ready for sparkles? Because today I decided I was going full out sparkles.
Oh, mine's a boring hat today in comparison, especially. But I was just feeling, kind of toned down. And I usually do some kind of wild hats. And I just really like this hat. So I went for that. But I love the front part of that brim of that hat is really nice. I'm digging it.
Yep. Sparkly sequins all over.
Yes. So we wear these hats to honor our app picks of the week. These are the apps that we have either been using for a long time and want to share with you, or new apps that we've been checking out that we want you to know about. So Rosemary Orchard, what is your app cap?
Well, my app cap is all about tracking outfits. Now, especially with this whole being at home all of the time, I've been wearing the same thing every single day, pretty much, leggings and a t-shirt or something along those lines. And Stylebook is an app which I am going to be using. Whoops, sorry, I just double back tapped my iPhone by accident. To actually keep track of what's in my wardrobe. So if we have a look here, you can see I have some t-shirts. Some of these might look familiar to people. Yes, they're very nerdy t-shirts, all from Cotton Bureau at various points over the years. There's a Carrot Weather there, one of my favorite apps.
Nice.
And so I've been going through trying to build up a inventory of what's in my wardrobe. Which is a good start. So I know, okay, so I have, I've got more than 2 pairs of jeans, but I just added what I had to start with. And I've been using this. I've been copying images from websites primarily, which makes it much easier. But then what I can do is I have my closet and I also have looks where I can build a look. I can also add inspiration, but then I can do my calendar. So I can add clothing or a look to my day. So today I am actually, sorry, tapped on the wrong one. I'm actually wearing my Cortex t-shirt here. And so this can remind me every single day, to log what I've worn. And so I can see here, what did I wear today? And I can add more clothing. So I am also wearing jeans today. And I'm wearing these jeans very specifically. And then I don't have this jumper added yet. But what I can do at any point, I can hang up or just place an item of clothing on a white background or a neutral color background. I can take a photo and it tries to automatically remove the background. So if I tap on these jeans, you can see it's not done an amazing job of removing the hands and the shoes because the shoes were white. But at the same time, I have these jeans right here. So I can see what I wore today. And I will be going through and building up a list so I can see what I've worn, which also means that in a couple of months, I'll be able to look through my t-shirts and realize that maybe there's some things that I never wear because maybe they don't fit very comfortably or I just don't like wearing them. And this is something I played with last year, did not really get very far with it because I was in one country and most of my wardrobe was in another country, which made actually logging what clothing items I have very difficult. But I love the fact that I will be able to do this. And it also has a packing feature so that when I get to go back on the road, I will be able to create my packing lists right here.
Nice. Yeah, you've shown this app before, and I ended up downloading it and starting to build out my wardrobe inside of it as well. I think that this is, it's just fun kind of to have in general and know what clothes you do have. Like this is actually good because I meant to show my partner this app and I completely forgot about it. So now that you've said it again, I can tell him about it, and so he'll definitely get it because he's all about making sure he's not wearing the same outfit every single day. Yeah, super cool. So that is Stylebook, available for $3.99 in the App Store.
Yep.
The app that I want to talk about is a website that has an app portion. If you're like me, you like to check out new apps and services as often as you possibly can. It's fun to find out what it all is out there. And in fact, the app that I showed today for Everyday, that was the one, the Everyday Habit Tracker. That was one that I found on Product Hunt. So Product Hunt is this site where creators can it's sort of like applying. You can put in an entry for your product that you're making, and then Product Hunt will kind of publish it on the site, and different apps and services get upvoted over time. And so then you can find really cool apps, really cool services that are available online for you to check out. Well, they have an iOS app, and it was basically, this is my way of getting to talk about Product Hunt on iOS today, because I think that many of you who watch this show, you're probably app downloaders for sure. You want to check out new stuff that's available, and Product Hunt is great for that. So with Product Hunt, I can see today what the top apps are. So some of these are not apps. Some of these are services that are available online, and you can just kind of scoot past those. But as we go through, we can see what is available for us to download. And it looks like, let's see if FlipKit is. No, that's an online thing. So if we go back to the main screen, we can scroll through here and try to find, and sometimes there are products like the world's first handheld AAA game console, the GPD Win 3. Radar widgets for GitHub, which is an iOS widget that shows you GitHub vulnerabilities. And so you can check that out, basically to make sure you know as quickly as possible what GitHub is showing. And then I'm trying to find, there we go, Clarity app, the social network for your love life. And so this app, it says, Clarity is the new social network for your love life. Share, confide, and connect through a safe and supportive community, and also access an ever-growing library of 300 plus lessons by 50 renowned experts. So Flirting 101, the keys to balancing work, life, and love, the neurobiology of love. Okay, we'll not do that one. That one's a little blue. There are questions on here, cleanliness and hygiene. Yeah. Anyway, that is an app that has some stuff that you can. I like that app in the sense that there are questions that you might have in a relationship, but you're not really sure who to talk to. And so they have experts on here to kind of answer those questions that might be helpful to you. So this is just fun. I like to scroll through here once a day and just see what different people are really getting excited about. And that's what the upvote is good for. So yesterday, the most popular thing was a chat bot, for example, or Novo Chat, which lets you chat on multiple platforms all in one place. And again, some of these are going to be kind of nerdy tools that are online, are for developers, that kind of thing. But there's just some really cool stuff in here that you can check out. And so just scrolling through here once a day and finding new apps to check out is a lot of fun. And for me, I also end up checking out a lot of the services as well. So that is Product Hunt. It is completely free, no in-app purchases, available in the App Store to download, or you can just go to Product Hunt's website as well. But like I said, downloaded the app because it's easy for me to go, oh, right, I need to scroll through Product Hunt and see if there's anything new worth checking out. So yeah, Product Hunt. We have reached the end of another episode of iOS Today. If you have questions you want to ask Rosemary Orchard or myself, if you have apps you want us to check out, if you have feedback, you can send that to iostoday@twit.tv. You can tune in live, so you can watch the show live. We record the show every Friday at a time that I will tell you in just a second, because I have not added that to the show notes yet. At 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. Pacific or 1800 UTC. So hang out with us every Friday live by going to twit.tv/live. But the best way to get the show is on your own time. And the way to do that is twit.tv/iOS. By going there, you can subscribe to the show in both audio and video formats on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out iOS Today. And by the way, if you do get your podcasts from Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or another place where you can leave some stars or some thumbs ups or put in some text about the show, it would be much appreciated if you did so. Let them know what you think about the show and what you think about the new awesome official host of iOS Today. We would appreciate that. It's very helpful for us to let other people know that we're out here, we're doing this show, and we're making it as awesome as we can for you. One more thing, don't forget to take the Twit 2021 audience survey. It's at twit.tv/survey21. This survey is very quick. Take you 5-7 minutes. It's anonymous, so you don't have to put in your email or anything like that. You just give those details and don't have to answer questions you don't want to. It's super simple to do. And basically, by doing so, you help us better understand our audience. That means that we can make sure that our shows are great for you, that the sponsors line up with who you are, and we get to know a little bit more about you. So yeah, those two things, leaving a review or a rating and filling out that survey, are absolute superhero things that you can do for us here on iOS Today and all of Twit. So we do appreciate that. Rosemary Orchard, if people want to follow you online, where do they go to do that?
Well, if you go to rosemaryorchard.com, there's links to all the things. But if you want to follow me, then micro.blog or Twitter are probably the best places. And my handle there is Rosemary Orchard on both services.
Awesome. You can head to chihuahua.coffee, chihuahua.coffee, which is just a list of links to all the places I exist online. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of iOS Today, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Hey folks, I'm Ant Pruitt, host of Hands of Photography here on Twit TV. I know some of you have gotten yourself a brand new camera, or you just had a camera sitting around and can't quite figure out how to get the most out of it. Well, I have a solution. My show, Hands on Photography. So subscribe right now to learn how to get the most out of that camera. I'm going to show you how to make those images pop. I don't care if it's a Canon camera. I don't care if it's a Sony, Nikon, iPhone, Android, even a inexpensive Android device. I got you covered. So head on over to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.